Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to revisit the subject of death, specifically your responses to my post about Peter Jackson's film The Lovely Bones, which I said was an ambitious failure. Depicts the afterlife. Unfortunately, depicts the afterlife as basically a version of Super Mario Galaxy, or worse still, a derivative of Vincent Ward's What Dreams May Come. And I was asking you to tell me what you thought were the great depictions of the afterlife, or whether you thought it was actually possible to put the afterlife on screen at all. Here are some of your responses. Now, some titles just kept coming up. Bill and Ted, Jacob's Ladder, Beetlejuice, The Christmas in Heaven scene from Monty Python, all good choices. This caught my eye from Chris Thornton. I just think that heaven is a fundamentally uninteresting concept from a dramatic point of view, in much the same way that you can't get an interesting movie from a perfect relationship where nothing goes awry, and that's why artists invariably record their least interesting albums when they've just got married. The only points of interest in depicting heaven are about set or CGI design. It kind of reminded me of the song from Eraserhead, the David Lynch film, when the woman comes out of the radiator and sings "In heaven everything is fine," or perhaps more appropriately, of that Talking Heads song, "Heaven is a place where nothing ever happens." This from Rich Indeed. A Life Less Ordinary's take on heaven as a busy US cop station isn't really too appealing, although having Holly Hunter there as an angel does make it a more tempting proposition. I mean, it seemed to me that sequence is a direct reference to A Matter of Life and Death, the idea of doing the afterlife as a kind of a busy office, a busy station where people are getting on with clerical jobs. And, of course, bear in mind that the producer of A Life Less Ordinary is Andrew MacDonald, who is, of course, Emmerich Pressburger's grandson. So the connection is probably more than coincidental. This is one of my favourite posts, this from Lew Speak. The most memorable afterlife scenes I can remember seeing are in Doug Trumbull's flawed 1983 sci-fi classic Brainstorm, which sees Christopher Walken as a scientist who records people's thought patterns, including his co-researcher, played by Natalie Wood, who suffers a fatal heart attack, leaving him with a tape that allows him to experience her transition from life to death and the afterlife. Cue a series of breathtaking scenes that have Doug Trumbull doing what he does best, demonstrating that optical effects, when done properly, will always be more mesmeric, beautiful and more emotional than CGI. This post is very close to my heart. I'm a huge fan of Doug Trumbull. I agree with what you're saying about the effects in it, incidentally. Trumbull, as you probably know, worked with Kubrick on the special effects sequences at the end of 2001. More importantly, he directed Silent Running, which is my favourite science fiction film of all time. I met him once when I was doing a documentary about Blade Runner, because he did visual effects on that, and I was completely overawed. I love Brainstorm. It is very severely flawed, but it's an extraordinary visual experience, and made all the more poignant, of course, by the fact that Natalie Wood died before the film was completed. So there is something strange and otherworldly about that movie, and it is really visually extraordinary. One last comment on this subject, and let me take this opportunity to say, congratulations on the quality of response. We had over 100 responses to this post, and really fascinating stuff that's been brought up, demonstrating that this is the most intelligent and interesting film community anywhere on the web at the moment. This from Bennett Edmond. I saw the Rapture, which I'd mentioned in my original post, while dubbing a soundtrack onto a copy of the film at a London post-production facility, but I only did 4 or 5 reels. The last one was done by someone else the next day, so I've never seen the end of the film, in which case you haven't seen the film. You really need to go back and see it, because it's all in the ending. But it was intriguing and disturbing, and since then I've always kept a keen eye out for Tolkien's work. As for the afterlife, no one seems to have mentioned that a certain boy wizard is due to revisit King's Cross at some stage in the next year or two. How will that compare? You see, I know that's coming, and when I read the last Harry Potter book, and when I got to the sequence in which, I'm not giving away anything here, shall we say the world seen and the world unseen shall be somehow brought together, you know what came into my head as I was reading that book? Scion House, Scion Park, Bedazzled.